mexicanos porque estamos en todos lados. ¡Viva México!
Mexicano, esa es mi bandera, yo la...
Welcome back to the Puncher's Point. Mexico versus Puerto Rico, the rivalry was renewed. But in this chapter, Mexico defeated Puerto Rico. Canelo Álvarez defeats Edgar Berlanga by unanimous decision, and he is still the unified super middleweight champion. Now, in my eyes, he's always going to be undisputed, but IBF decided to strip him because he didn't want to fight William Skull. But that's besides the point. Okay, Canelo keeps his WBA, WBO, and WBC championship by defeating Edgar Berlanga. Excuse me. The third round, Breezy. The third round, they were feeling each other out. That left hook, you can tell Canelo was having a little bit of success with that early. He was just waiting for the right opportunity. Clipped Edgar Berlanga full on, hit him with the left hook. Edgar bounced back. He dusted himself off. And after that, it was just pure domination from Canelo Álvarez. Now, what y'all were saying happened to Jaime Munguia, how he got straight up dominated, okay? I don't know what, again, for the last time, I don't know what fight me and Breezy were watching, but we didn't see that in the Jaime Munguia fight. In this fight, we can honestly say that Edgar Berlanga got beat badly. So, here we go. We're going to go right into strategy, okay? Now, Breezy, I'm going to start off first. As far as, individual strategies, Berlanga, I got to give it a 6. Okay, now don't get me wrong. I do want to say before I say anything that I tip my cap to Edgar Berlanga. He stepped into the ring with a guy like Canelo Álvarez, and in my opinion, even though he was backing up against the ropes the entire fight, he wasn't backing off. Okay, let's be real. He got clipped by Canelo, got hurt, got knocked down, got back up, and continued to fight and continued to punch. Canelo, I'll say this: Berlanga lost, but he wasn't losing without swinging. And that's what I respect about Edgar Berlanga. He was there. He was trying to fight. Every single time Canelo would try to surge onto an attack, Edgar Berlanga seemed to fight back. And so I got a lot of respect for Edgar Berlanga, because he didn't let the knockdown discourage him. He still stayed in Canelo's face. If Canelo would try to attack, Berlanga would try his best to, counterattack. It's just Canelo is light years away, and he has way more experience than Edgar Berlanga has as of this point in his career. Now, Canelo, I'll give his strategy an 8. Now, what I really liked about Canelo was how we talked about it many times with Canelo, how he's able to attack all parts of the body, including the arms. And I feel like Canelo realized if I wasn't going to hit him on the chin, I was going to make sure I target those arms. I was going to make sure that I hurt those arms. So it's going to be harder for somebody like Edgar Berlanga to block my shots. Canelo did a very good job of going to the body, and I feel like he did a very good job of sustaining those body shots. Now, obviously, the level changing was another great thing that Canelo did, but the body specifically, that I was surprised that there wasn't any body shots that dropped Edgar Berlanga. I know in the 9th or 10th round, I believe it might have been the 10th. I know there was a body shot that Canelo hit him with, and Edgar Berlanga was complaining that it was below the belt. In that case, stop complaining, okay? You just point to your waist and you continue to fight. When you're in the ring with somebody like Canelo, the last thing you want to do is complain about something. The last thing you want to do is keep your eyes off the ball. Speaking of keeping his eyes off the ball, I want to fast forward to the 10th round. 10th round, Canelo's clearly winning this fight. Edgar Berlanga, Edgar Berlanga is kind of taunting him a little bit. What does Canelo do? He decides to drop his hands and back up. You know what? Shout out to Edgar Berlanga for landing that hit on Canelo when he was slacking. He caught Canelo slacking, hit him with that hit, and Canelo covered up. Let me explain this right now. I'm going to say this right now. If that's David Benavidez, he's getting rocked or knocked down. I don't care if you're Canelo. I don't care if you're Gervonta Davis. I'm going to name all these faces of boxing. I don't care if you're Jake Paul. I don't care if you're Ryan Garcia. Under no circumstances during any part of any fight do you let your hands go and you turn your head towards an opponent. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your dang son. You do not turn your head against your opponent. And shout out to Edgar Berlanga for hitting him, because it's called protect yourself at all times. And I hope Canelo learns from that. Regardless of who's taunting him, regardless of who he's in the ring with, do not ever do that. Okay? But overall, going back to Canelo, I feel like Canelo did a very good job of landing his jab. And I'm not gonna lie, Canelo's got a very underrated jab. I didn't realize how good the jab was. See, for somebody as short as Canelo, for somebody who's kind of as stout as Canelo, Canelo's got himself a very good jab, and he's able to utilize that jab against longer fighters who have more reach. And that's what I find very interesting about his jab, and he's able to unleash it very, very well. And in this fight, he definitely did that. The left hook was definitely a big punch. Now, as far as Berlanga, I feel like Berlanga could have did a better job of basically, look, he was trying to counterattack, he was trying to respond back, but that's not the way you're going to beat Canelo. The way you're going to beat Canelo is you got to control the pace, and Berlanga didn't do that. It seemed like the entire fight for all 12 rounds, he was fighting at Canelo's speed, Canelo's pace, he was fighting the style Canelo wanted. And I don't think Berlanga should have did that. I think Berlanga should have early and throughout the fight basically set the tone for the fight. And I don't think he did that. The other thing too is Berlanga was on those ropes way too much. His corner's telling him stay in the center of the ring. And that was one of the things that me and Breezy didn't touch up on. Look, you're gonna have to outbox Canelo. Okay. When we say land 2 or 3 punch combinations and slip out, I want to clarify. We don't mean land 2 or 3 punches and then back up to the corner. That's not what we're talking about. You land 2 or 3 punches, you slip out, and you stay in the middle of the ring, and you use your jab. Okay, if you want to take a couple steps back, that's fine, but you use your jab. Okay, you stay away from the middle of the ring. You cut your angles. You use your footwork to make sure you don't land yourself in positions like those. And I feel like Berlanga wasn't doing a great job of that. So overall, as far as fight strategy, Breezy, overall in the entirety of it, I'm gonna give it a 7. All right. I don't think Berlanga's fight strategy was atrocious, but I don't think it was great either. And as far as Canelo's fight strategy, he had himself a good strategy. I think he put himself onto a good boxing clinic. I think it was a lot better than the Jaime Munguia performance, but I don't think it was perfect either. So Canelo 8, Berlanga 6. You put that in the middle. I'm gonna give it a 7.
I can agree with that. Berlanga having the 6 and Canelo having the 8. And look, well, people gotta understand this, right? So when the fight started, I was expecting Berlanga to kind of come in there and kind of like start pushing the pressure on him. See, I guess after a while of, because I told y'all before, this all had everything to do with levels. This all had everything to do with Canelo being on a higher level with IQ wise and skill wise. And I guess for Berlanga, I guess he was just trying to be on the safe side with that power. But at the same time, you have to also be willing to be on the safe side at times and also being willing to take risks. It's part of being in the fight game. When you're in the fight game, you're going to have to take risks. That's the only way you're going to get up on those scorecards. And it just felt like every time Canelo tried to step to Berlanga's last resort was, of course, stand up on the ring. Now, with the third round, now I'm going to tell you something right now. When Canelo dropped him in the third round, I nearly jumped on my chair because I was like, I didn't expect the knockdown to come this early. I expected it to happen a little bit later on down the line. But here's the thing, though. I tip my hat off to Berlanga because I honestly thought Berlanga was going to get stopped. Matter of fact, Mario had a perfect prediction. So congrats to Mario on that. I thought he was going to get stopped, and the fact that he was able to maintain through the whole fight was amazing. But the thing about it is, too, Berlanga had moments where he was hitting Canelo with shots and whatnot, but it really wasn't doing anything to Canelo. And what I'm starting to realize from Canelo is that he has power to knock you down, but you can tell that power of him stopping you is starting to slip away. And I think the last best chance we've seen of him with that kind of power was when he fought Caleb Plant. See, the difference is the problem with what happened with the Caleb Plant fight was that Caleb Plant was doing really well in the early rounds against Canelo. He just didn't have the gas tank to keep up with Canelo. So if you take the strategy of a Caleb Plant and you put it into a fighter that has a gas tank, they beat Canelo. So Berlanga, like I said, I mean, he had moments where he would tee off on Canelo and whatnot, but for the most part, he got backed up. And then when he got hit with certain shots and whatnot, and look, like Mario said, to clarify for what we meant, we don't mean 1, 2, 3, and then you go all the way back. No. Use your footwork. What is the main thing I keep telling you about Canelo's weakness? His footwork. He doesn't have footwork like that. Use your angles. Cut the ring off on him. So you have to be able to use your footwork. Then you have to also be able to establish the distance, and also put your punches together with him. You got to mix it up. You don't want to just stand there. And that's exactly what Berlanga did. He stood there in front of Canelo the whole night. Now, if you ask me, I only gave him by what, 2 rounds? If that. The rest of the rounds, Canelo won. It was a very dominant victory. And not to note, let's get into that whole Canelo situation. I don't know what was going through his head. Now look, I get it. You in front of your people. It's a big crowd. It's a big day. It's Mexican Independence Day. But like Mario said, I don't care if you in there with I don't care if you in there with Steph Curry, Dora the Explorer. Don't ever do nothing like that. Please don't ever, and especially at a time and point where you're at now in your career, you can't afford to make mistakes. You're slowly, look, I know the Canelo diehards is not going to like what I'm about to say, but he is slowly declining. It is completely fair and understandable to say, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. The man is getting up there in age, and he's had plenty of fights. The man is declining. There's nothing wrong with saying that, but with you declining it, see, maybe look, I'm not for you making a mistake, right? I'm not saying that it's okay to do it. Maybe you could have got away with that when you was younger, but now you're up there in age and the IQ is a little bit tighter than what it was when you fought Floyd. You can't make that mistake. Like Mario said, what if you was in there with Benavidez? Let's know. You're saying that you want to fight Bivol. What if you was in there with Bivol and you did that to Bivol? You can't afford to make small mistakes like that. I don't care how powerless you consider your opponent to be. But nevertheless, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I gave Canelo an 8, Berlanga a 6. What Berlanga has to do is Berlanga's going to he has to understand how to also take risks, but at the same time, how to also use his footwork, not stand in the same place. And don't, he did what happened with the whole Frank Martin situation, stayed up against the ropes. And you can tell at times in the middle of the ring, they had a little taunt show. And I guess it was a whole lot of emotions going on because Berlanga kept headbutting Canelo, whatever that was supposed to do or mean. But and then the whole below, look, that was a body shot. Okay, I don't know why, but apparently anytime somebody get hurt with a body shot, that's the new way of to keep themselves from getting waved off. Is hey, he hit me in the dingaling. No, we done seen that with Usyk and Dubois. Okay, if you got hit above the belt, it's a body shot. You didn't get hit in your nuts. All right, we need to stop that because that's a new trend now where when fighter finna get hurt from a body shot, he hit me in my nuts. No, he did not. He did not hit you in your private areas. But nevertheless, I agree with that. You know, Canelo 8, Berlanga 6. So overall 7. I agree.
Touch up on some things Breezy said. First of all, Dora the Explorer. If you want to talk about gas tanks, I mean, she'd be walking around that whole map for the entire episode. You know, Dora Explorer. Let me tell you something. Hey, I'm just saying, Dora the Explorer. She don't get tired. Clearly, all right. Not only is she walking around the whole map, but she teaching us Spanish on top of that too. You know, so shout out to Dora. But that's one thing. The other thing, Breezy's absolutely right with everything he just said. Canelo is slowly on the decline. I mean, the last 5 opponents he hasn't knocked out. You know, he's knocked them down. Now, here's what I'm going to say. Canelo Álvarez still got a lot of talent. He's still got a lot of skills. But I'm just saying, if this is the Canelo from 5 years ago, Edgar Berlanga gets put to sleep in the 4th round. Okay? Canelo would never, and I mean never back then, let Berlanga get as far as he did. As a matter of fact, I believe Canelo would have kept his promise, which was, I'm going to make you feel pain towards the 8th round, and then I'm going to get you out of there. That's what prime Canelo would have did right there. He would have said it and done it. But this is, again, Canelo's getting older now, I feel like. You know, I mean, he's been in the sport for a very, very long time. His footwork isn't what it used to be. He doesn't have the same bounce on his feet. You know, with the last 5 opponents, he hasn't knocked them out. So I do think that he still has a lot of prime years left, but I don't think he's in his prime anymore. Now, with that being said, let's get straight into the excitement. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do we view the excitement? I'm not going to lie. Me and Breezy, we might disagree on this one. I'm going to be honest. I thought this was an exciting fight. You know, I'm going to give it an 8. I don't think it's anything like too crazy, but I'm going to give it an 8. See, the reason why I think it's an exciting fight is because we did have the knockdown. That created a lot of drama. And then You think about the bad blood that these two had. I wouldn't even say bad blood. I would just say, the bantering and the trash talking back and forth. And then you go into this fight and Berlanga kept trash talking, Canelo kept trash talking. They were both going back and forth. And the fight itself, it wasn't like one person was doing, it wasn't like the Charlo fight where you're not putting together punches or anything like that, and you're just trying to stay alive. No, Berlanga, even though he was getting beat badly in this fight, he was still throwing, he was still swinging. There were times where he even clipped Canelo a few times. But Canelo, I mean, is a different breed. And what I really like is that both of these guys, they were both active. They were both basically in there the entire fight, trying to put out a good show. And overall, I think they did that. So I gotta go and give the excitement about an 8. And honestly, I think Berlanga can definitely take away something from this fight. And I still believe Canelo is an entertaining fighter to watch. So I'm gonna give it an 8, man.
If we talking pre-fight, I give it a 0. But if we talking like post-fight, fight, yeah. If we talking like post-fight, like after fight, I give it about a 7. I'll say it was exciting for what it was, but like I said, like it to me, I like fights that's like you just don't know who's going to win, but it brings that excitement too, right? Um, and for me, I just felt like that even though the fight was the way it was, I mean, it was kind of obvious who was going to win. I mean, like we said in the prediction in the breakdown video, he's just levels above Berlanga, and that's not no shot of this at Berlanga. It's just facts. When you're in this game for a while and whatnot, it's just certain things that you're hip to. It's just certain things that just become second nature to, and not only that too, but it also exposed a lot of flaws that Berlanga has. That if he wants to become a world champ, he's going to have to like clean those up too, because a lot of flaws he had showed in this fight against Canelo, and Canelo did a good job of exposing that, while also Canelo also showed that he's also on a decline too. He also still showed that he can hang in there for 12 rounds. Now, let's not get it twisted. There was times where, like I said, Berlanga, like he was hitting Canelo with good shots, but look, and as much as Canelo's declining, that chin is still there. Because I tell you not, I thought there was one point where he was about to sit Canelo down. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So the fact that Canelo went 12, and not only that too, but let's not act like Canelo wasn't in the inside with this guy. He was in the inside with somebody who had 16 consecutive knockouts. And not only that too, but he didn't hit the ground and didn't even look hurt. Even though I thought there was going to be times and moments where that would happen, it didn't happen. So the fact that he was able to still sit in the inside like that, it just to go show how granted his chin is. And there's not a lot of fighters in this sport today that you could find that has a chin like that. I guarantee you, had that been anybody else, they would have sat down at least once or twice. So he still has that chin. So I get a fight by a 7 because of the fact I knew how it was going to happen. I would bring it up to 8 if it was like 50-50, but I give it about a 7 because it still had a lot of things to look at. The knockdown, the blow the belt thing, Canelo walking off and Berlanga clipping him. So I give it a 7 for those reasons because it had exciting moments to grasp to.
Before we move on to stakes, a couple things I do want to say. Going back to what Breezy said with the flaws, I thought that one of Edgar Berlanga's flaws was that he drops his left hand. This fight, it was the right hand, so I was wrong about that, completely wrong, because the right hand he dropped, and then that's when Canelo landed the left hook, and I believe he kept dropping that right hand. The left hand, it was down, but it didn't seem like it was too costly to him in this fight. Don't get me wrong, in other fights it could be, but mostly this fight, it was the right hand that concerned me. I feel like he dropped that down a lot more than he did the left. And last but not least, going back to the predictions, the reason why you should tune into the prediction episodes is because this time I got a perfect prediction. The last time Breezy got a perfect prediction. So if you listen to either one of us for the last 2 fights, you would have won some money. Hey, I'm just saying, I knew this was going to go to distance. Breezy knew Nail in a way was going to get him out of there in the same. He predicted the round for y'all too. Y'all would have won crazy money. But nah, y'all don't want to be tuned into the prediction episodes. That's all I gotta say. You want to win bets? Tune into the prediction episode. Let's get to stakes, okay? Let's talk about the stakes that were on the line for this fight. Overall, man, You got the WBA belt, you got the WBO belt, you got the WBC belt. Now, before this fight, he got stripped of the IBF belt, so you can't win undisputed. All right. Not many people thought Berlanga was going to win this fight anyway, and Canelo won it. Now if Canelo lost, I feel like now if Canelo lost, then obviously it would have created a whole whirlwind, and that's leans more on impact, I would say. But as far as stakes, man, again, I got to give it a 7. If it was undisputed, I could bump it up to an 8, but I got to give it a 7, man, because there really wasn't anything crazy on the line. There wasn't really anything where we look at it and we're like, oh, well, Canelo really could be in danger of losing this, or Edgar Berlanga, what's at stake for him? Obviously, the stakes were big for Edgar Berlanga. It's his first ever world title shot. Canelo Álvarez, he's been through this. He's done the same song and dance a million times. So overall, because the belts were on the line, and because they're 3 out of 4 of those belts are on the line, so I think that the stakes should at least be a 7 for that. But other than that, I don't think there was really anything too huge on the line. Oh, and it was on Mexican Independence Day. I'll add that as well. So I'm gonna give it a 7, man. That's the stakes for me.
I give it a 7 off of generosity. To me, there's not too much to look at this fight. Of course, maybe Mexican Independence Day, the belts, but it's like this fight was just so kind of like random. Like nobody asked for this fight, so it's kind of like, where do they go from here? Where does Berlanga go from here? Where does Canelo go from here? Does Canelo try to move back up and get that rematch with Bivol? Does he stay? Like what is that's what I'm saying. Like there's no like I would bump it up to like an 8 or 9. Like if there's a follow up to it, but knowing how he gets down, just like it's kind of all over the place. 1 minute we're fighting this guy, we fighting Triple G, we fighting Monkey, now we fighting it's all over the place. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's so confusing. So it's like I I can't say there's any stakes for it because we don't even know what to look for. We don't know if there's going to be a next opponent. We don't know if he's starting to slowly aim towards retirement. You just don't know with Canelo. So I'll give it a 7 just off the fact of it being Mexican Independence Day and it had some titles on the line. Not that it was fully undisputed, but it had some titles on the line.
It's the impact of boxing. I guess Edgar Berlanga's stock rose from here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I gotta tip my cap again. I give all the respect in the world to Edgar Berlanga. The only thing I wish he would have did better is stay in the middle of the ring. He got outboxed. He took his beating like a man. You know what I'm saying? He got knocked down, got back up. Edgar Berlanga showed a lot of great qualities in a great fight. I'm not saying Edgar Berlanga is a great fighter yet, but he showed a lot of good qualities. He showed the same qualities that Jaime Munguia showed. So I believe him and Jaime Munguia are right now on the same level. And I agree. And I think that there could be a possible future fight between Jaime Munguia and Edgar Berlanga. And that would be entertaining as all. I mean, that's going to be an entertaining fight if that happens. But as far as impact, man, what's the impact for this on the Canelo side? There isn't one. So you know what? I got to give it a 6. The impact's a 6, man. I mean, we can't go any further from here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the only person that we keep on calling for in every single fight, we keep calling for him, and we're thinking, all right, this is out the way. Now it's time for Benavidez. This is out the way. Now it's time for Benavidez, and we never get there. Now, I do realize that this was a 2-fight deal, so the whole plan was always going to be Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga. So after the Munguia fight, I expected Berlanga to come in next. But now that 2-fight deal is gone. So what are we going to say now? What are we going to say now? It's either Bivol or Benavidez, in my opinion. I don't want to hear that Crawford crap. All right, let's get that out of our heads. Crawford, stay at 154. You had a problem with Madrimov. You said Madrimov was too strong. You don't want to step in there with Canelo. So I'm just saying, Crawford, push it to the side. Okay, it's either Bivol or Benavidez. Either way, you got to go up to 170. You got to go up to 175, most likely to fight one of those guys. Pick one. That's all I got to say. You can wait till after the Bivol better be a fight, and you can use your super champ status to get that fight, or you could fight David Benavidez, like we've been asking. And Canelo was like, what are they going to say now? I fight old guys and they criticize me. I fight young guys and they criticize me. I like you, Canelo. I'm a big fan of Canelo. Breezy knows this. Fight Benavidez. We've been asking for this for the last 3 fights. Fight Benavidez. We've been asking for this for over 2 years now. Okay? That's what we've been asking for the last 3 to 4 fights. Fight Benavidez. But we're not getting it. So that's what us fans are asking for. So, but overall, man, I'm not going to continue going on this spiel. Okay. Impact's a 6.
I give it a 0. You beating Berlanga doesn't do a single damn thing for it. You know it. Your fans know it. Mauricio Suleiman know it. Everybody in that damn building knows that. I know it. Mario knows. Everybody watching this episode knows that. That does nothing for your career. Nobody's gonna be sitting in their chair 50 years from now with gray hairs in their head talking about, yeah, y'all remember that time Canelo beat Berlanga? Nobody's gonna be no. You don't get points off of beating somebody that's not really up there on that caliber level yet. And you know what? I sat there and I heard him say that. And you know what? I chuckled. Because you know why? You're doing exactly what Jake Paul did. You know what Jake Paul said? Jake Paul said, well, they wanted me to fight a boxer, so I'm fighting a boxer. And yeah, you know what you did? You got a guy that was working on oil. Congrats. You got a guy that was far away from boxing and he was working on oil. What was your excuse? Well, they said I don't fight a young guy, so now I fight a young guy. Okay, so you fight a guy who has not won any belts. But wasn't you the same one that was going all up on these interviews talking about what has this fighter done? What has this fighter done? This fighter wants a payday. This fighter wants a payday. If I'm not mistaken, the fighter we asking you to fight has had a belt. Belt has Munguia had. What belt has you? Y'all get the point. So all that kumbaya, I don't be trying to hear all that. But nevertheless, I give it a 0.
Dang, Breezy, that's a little harsh, man. A 0. I still think there's some. I still think there's a tiny bit of upside. Like, I mean, the 2-fight deal is over, so now it's all unpredictable from here. Dang.
You had a 2-fight deal against two guys we knew you know.
And Breezy did touch up on what I was going to touch up on if he didn't mention it, that Benavidez is a former world champion. I forgot Benavidez is a former world champion. And I remember we did a Benavidez episode, and one of the guys in the comments got mad at us because he thought we were discrediting him. And we were like, we're not discrediting what Benavidez is doing. We just forgot that he was a WBC champion. You want to know why? Because that title reign was not memorable whatsoever. But regardless, he is a former champion. Okay. So, I mean, it's only right. I mean, you talked about that you would go and fight Benavidez. We still have yet to see it. So I'm just saying, look, regardless of whether you're Team Benavidez or Team Canelo, and look, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I'm gonna look right in this camera and I'm going to admit it to y'all. I am more of a fan of Canelo than I am Benavidez. I think Canelo will beat Benavidez. That's my prediction as of right now. I think Canelo would definitely beat Benavidez. However, I can't just sit here and lie to y'all's faces. Like I said, on the Puncher's Point, we're real. Whatever opinion we give, it's our honest opinion. Whether you think it's crazy or not, it's our honest opinion. I can't sit here and lie to y'all's faces and say what Canelo's doing is justifiable, because it's not. He is a super champion. He gets to pick whoever he wants. Don't get me wrong. When it's all said and done, Canelo Álvarez will be a future Hall of Famer. And no matter what he does from this point out, he cannot fight Benavidez. And I don't think it jeopardizes his legacy. However, what we want as fans is to fight Benavidez. So I'm just saying, as of right now, I do believe it's kind of cherry picking, and I'm not saying he's fighting scrubs. I'm not saying he's fighting bums. I think Jaime Munguia and Edgar Berlanga has got a bright future ahead of them. But at the same time, we've been asking for Benavidez for the last 3 years and we haven't got it. So now, you want us to add anything, Breezy, before we get to the overall fight grade?
Yeah, and then you, that ridiculous price amount of money you asked for the fight Benavidez, boy, you was out your damn mind. Did y'all see the price amount that he had wanted to fight Benavidez? Boy, I don't know. I'm gonna just put it like this. I don't know how many drinks you done had. I don't know if what you was doing. I don't know if you was smoking anything, but you was definitely out your damn mind with that price that you asked for to fight Benavidez. But it goes back to what I say. Former champion, he was in your division, kept calling you, and then even got elevated as your man though, and still never fought him. But see, I remember a timing point where Canelo fans would jump down my neck talking about, oh, it's all about honoring your mandos. It's all about honoring your mandatories. He ain't honored that damn mandatory yet. And that's been how, 2-3 years now? And he ain't honored that one since. I'm 21 now. What's the excuse? But I already know how they're going to play it. You know what I'm saying? Benavidez doesn't do anything. He's a fat, chubby kid with defense. Yeah. Say the same shit every time we try to hold Canelo accountable. It is what it is. Y'all don't want that man in there because y'all know what's gonna happen. Or at least my opinion. I think he gonna lose. But that's just me.
I
I
think
understand.
I think he outboxes him. I think he outboxes David Benavidez. I'm not even
At
lying.
this point, I understand why he's staying away from him. At this time and point, looking from what I'm thinking now, I understand now.
I'm just saying. Either way, Breezy. Either way, no matter which side of the ball you're on, Team Benavidez, Team Canelo. It seems like as of this point, it's like the Twilight Zone. It's like the Twilight series with like Team Jacob and Team Edward. I don't know. I don't care. I just want to see the fight happen.
Wait. Who the hell is Jacob and who is Edward? I need to hear this right now.
Y'all, look. It's a long story. That itself will be an episode. Okay. Like it's a bunch of weird crap in there. I never saw the movies personally. I just remember being in elementary school and all these like fangirls were raving about it. Regardless, not the point. Not the point. This fight, it was graded at a 6.12, I believe. Let me just get 6.13. That puts it at 12th on our list. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a good fight. If we're grading it off of solely the fight itself, it's probably up there. However, you take all those factors that we just mentioned, you combine them into one on what makes a truly great fight. Got to give it a 6.12, man, or 6.13, excuse me. And that's 12th on our list. Again, when we go back and we reflect on this list, there might be some things that we want to switch up. As of right now, hey, look, listen, when we give fight rankings, it's finals. We're not going to switch them up. We're not going to be like, oh, at the end of the year and be like, this deserves to get above. The ranking is what it is. Canelo and Berlanga, it's going to be at 12th and it's going to stay there. So if y'all got a problem with that, type it in the comments. Okay. We'll have a whole back and forth, everything like that. Nothing crazy, nothing disrespectful, but hey, rankings are what they are.
If y'all in the comment section, y'all have a problem with how I feel, I'm just gonna let y'all know right now. I'm gonna give a damn, okay? Because I gave that man too much leniency. I try to get that man so much chances to do what he had to do. I don't want to hear no damn crying in the chat. So if you don't like what I gotta say, take it to your damn mama, because I done gave Canelo too many damn and Mario can tell you firsthand I gave this man chances and he still ain't do it yet. So I don't want to hear no crying in the comments.
I told y'all. I mean, look. Either way, you're gonna get a response regardless. Nothing disrespectful. Nothing.
Yeah, rude. I ain't gonna roast you.
Yeah, no, we ain't gonna roast you. All right. We know y'all. We know some of y'all don't like to hold punches back, but it's all good. Anyway, not the point. Not the point. We talked about who we want him to fight. Benavidez, Bivol. However, okay, if that doesn't happen, let's be honest, most likely, Bivol most likely will happen before Benavidez. But regardless, if those two don't happen, who do you think Canelo was going to fight? I have a decent idea of somebody in mind that he's going to fight. But before I give my prediction on who he will fight, I want to pass it on to you, Breezy. If it's not Benavidez or Bivol, who he's going to fight?
God, dog. Well, I mean, I honestly see Bivol turning down that fight. I don't think Bivol will run it back with him. I think Bivol wants to move on to bigger things since he had already beat Canelo. But call me crazy. Call me crazy, call me deluded, call me delusional. Why can I see Canelo going to go grab that William dude and getting the other strap? I don't know why, but something somewhere in this rib cage of mine is telling me that he about to spin the block and be like, William, you're next. Get ready for the almighty Canelo payday, because you're next, and I want your belt. Because we gotta finish becoming undisputed before we retire, right? So, I mean, I can't really think of nobody else at the top of my head. That division is dry as a desert. The only thing that's really known of or active at this point is Caleb Plant, Canelo, and So I mean, well, if you want to still consider Jamal Charlo, I wouldn't even do that. But hey, look, that's I don't even think the Bivol fight happens. I don't think the rematch happens. I definitely as hell don't think we get Benavidez and Canelo. But I could honestly see him pulling the William guy. I could see Canelo also pulling it like a guy we haven't heard of in a while, but we know him. We just haven't heard him in a while, and I could see Canelo fighting him. Either way, what I'm saying is I don't see the next fight being some kind of like, oh, this is 50-50. Just know it's going to be a name. We're going to be like, okay, we know who this is, but it's like, damn, really though? Like type stuff. So
You mentioned a guy as close as you could without even saying his name. Canelo Álvarez versus David Morrell. It's happening next. That's what I think. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. That's the guy that all of us forgot about, but we know who he is. 11-0. And the thing is, David Morrell, he kind of jumps in between 175 and 168. Not to mention, he's a PBC fighter as well. And we know Canelo just recently had that deal with PBC. Now, I don't know if he's going to go resign and stay there. I don't know if he's going to go back to the zone, but it ain't gonna be Breezy Jr. over at Top Rank. It's not gonna be Christian Mabili. All right. I don't think he's gonna give anybody he's already fought a rematch. I don't think it's gonna be Benavidez right now. I do agree. I think Bivol will turn it down because I think even Bivol has admitted in the past. I don't know if his feelings have changed, but I think even Bivol has admitted in the past that like he doesn't really care for that fight that much. He already did what he had to do, and that's that. Doesn't really do much for him at this point. Um, David Morrell, though, another young fighter, 11-0, has never lost. Another Puerto Rican fighter. You can also push that same narrative and that same hype for the fight that you did with Berlanga, Puerto Rico versus Mexico. But I do think that all the pieces are together for David Morrell. And I know, and let me explain something. I'm not saying David Morrell's got a chance. I'm not saying like this is going to be the best fight ever or anything like that. It's the fight that I want to see. I'm not saying any of those things, but I am saying that the building blocks are there to make that fight happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo decides to go and target David Morrell. So
so
that's who I think would possibly be next.
back then he was just beating up on a line of UK fighters, right? Right. So is he now shifting up to beating up on Puerto Rican fighters now? Like I'm asking, look, I'm asking a question. I'm not.
Hey, nah, look. I'm not sure what's gonna happen next. If he decides to go that route, then let's say sure. However, um, I don't know what's next. I mean, let's be realistic. Like you said, the field is not that like strong. In my opinion, 168, the only guys really that everybody focuses on is Benavidez, who's probably at 175 right now, Canelo, and I mean that's it. There's good fighters in that division, Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga, and I believe after those Canelo fights, their stock is gonna jump up. Caleb Plant, like you mentioned. However, I mean, if we're gonna be honest, Breezy, like there's really not much that Canelo can do at 168. I mean, it's either he goes up in weight and tries to shoot a rematch with Bivol, or he tries to fight Benavidez. And another reason why I don't think the Bivol fight's going to happen is because he's being advertised by Turki Al-Sheikh, and Canelo is not a fan of doing business with Turki Al-Sheikh. Not saying he won't, but Canelo rides his own wave. Turki Al-Sheikh rides his own wave. So because of that, when you got two guys who want to make stuff happen their way, it ain't gonna happen. So I don't think the Bivol fight's gonna happen anytime soon. The one guy though, I'm just saying, David Morrell, all the pieces are right there. That's an easy fight to make for Canelo. And David Morrell, I guarantee you he's not going to say no. So, to me, in my opinion, I believe that's probably going to be the next fight. Do I think David Morrell's ready? No. Do I think he's going to win? No. However, I do believe that it is right there. I would love to see David Morrell versus Edgar Berlanga. Puerto Rico versus Puerto Rico. Let's see that happen. I would like to see David Morrell versus Jaime Munguia. I would like to see David Morrell versus Christian Mabili. I would like to see even David Morrell versus David Benavidez. But I just don't think those fights are really that manageable because I mean you can make Caleb Plant versus David Morrell because they're both on the same brand, but a lot of those fights they're not manageable because a lot of these guys are with different promoters, and those different promoters are gonna have to meet up to make those fights. And as much as all these promoters say they want to make the big fights happen, these big fights they don't happen. So, yeah, I think it's just easier to schedule a fight inside of your own promotion team inside your own organization. And I believe I could definitely see him staying with PBC and getting a fight with David Morrell. So I believe that's probably going to be his next option. But only time will tell. And Canelo, it's very unpredictable. It's pretty funny that you did say William Skull. Now, again, as of right now, the IBF belt, it is vacated. So nobody has it yet. I don't know what fight they plan on making for the IBF belt. They could do Plant versus David Morrell or Benavidez versus David Morrell for that belt. And I believe those two are most likely to happen because they're both premier boxing champion fighters. But again, when I don't know who's going to get that belt, I don't know what they got in store to get that belt. But overall, super middleweight division, it's just not picking up steam the way it should. Besides Canelo, Benavidez, and occasionally Caleb Plant. But regardless, with that being said, man, I say it is time to wrap this up. Like we said, we have gone back to back on perfect predictions. This is why y'all need to tune into the prediction episodes, because we be giving y'all some betting information that y'all might want to listen to if y'all want to win some money. A lot of people, everybody was saying Canelo was going to knock him out. I knew I was very high on Edgar Berlanga, and I knew Edgar Berlanga, even though he got dropped, okay, that's besides the point. Even though he got dropped, Edgar Berlanga never really got hurt to the point where it was very concerning. He got dropped, he got back up every single time, dusted himself off, and he continued to fight forward. And in all of these other fights, he beat those guys, except for Canelo. So I knew this was going to go the distance. Breezy also saw something in that Naoya Inoue fight that had him saying 7th round KO. And I'm just saying, y'all got to tune into the prediction episodes. Even if y'all don't like boxing, if y'all just we want y'all to watch the full episode. But even if you were to fast forward to the betting part, y'all could win yourself some money. I don't care if you don't like boxing. You love money. So tune in and tap into the Puncher's Point. So with that being said, again, we're going to keep on posting. Our schedule has been a little bit frantic, but we try to stay as consistent as possible. Make sure y'all tune into the social medias to get all that exclusive content, like the magazines, the three key takeaways, the reels. Make sure y'all tune into the social medias for that as well. Make sure y'all tune into the YouTube to watch and to hear and to understand us and us as boxing analysts. Make sure y'all tune into the podcast if y'all can't watch us on the YouTube. Again, the podcast, we want to get that thing bumping. We want to get it rolling. Make sure y'all just keep on tapping into the Puncher's Point. And with that being said, make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point.